everyone, I'm Carla and this is my channel, Imagine That with Carla. I'm so glad you stopped by today. It means a lot to me to know you're interested in seeing what I have prepared for you. But before we get started, I want to say that a couple of videos ago, I had said that I was hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. Well, someone had given my name to Tina Williams from Rehatch Designs, and so she decided to support me in helping me build my channel. And I did receive so much support, and I am so grateful and so thankful for you. In fact, I think I'm only like 28 subscribers away from 1,000. Now, I kind of fell down on the job of getting my videos out, but I had a good reason. My husband, who had a heart attack at Easter, has not been doing that well, and we've been going back and forth to different clinics and doctors and tests, and just very busy. If you've had that kind of illness, heart condition in your family, you know what I'm talking about. So I wasn't able to really get on top of more videos. It's been really busy. And actually, his doctors have referred him to another hospital in St. Louis, which is about 4 hours away. So we're waiting on a call from them to go there, get an evaluation. Hopefully, we can get something for his heart failure. With that said, I'm going to give you 5 projects today. 3 of them are still holiday. I enjoy making the holiday projects, even though I don't know if I'm going to put those in my booth this year. It'll give me a jump start for next year. And the other 2 are, one is could be year-round. The other one is another holiday in the future. So let's get started and let me know what you think of these projects I'm getting ready to share with you. This little candle holder I thrifted from a church rummage sale this summer, and I'm taking it apart. You can see it's in a pretty rusty condition. I cleaned it the best I could, and then I spray painted it. And for the glass part, I used bleach to try to bleach it out, and I used Dawn, and I could not get that out. Now I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if vinegar and something would have worked. The paint I used was that Rust-Oleum satin, and the color was fossil. And it was the 2-in-1 paint that has the primer with the paint on it. I'm just trying to assemble this back a little bit so I can get an idea of how my transfer might fit on this container. My transfer is from Santa's Hollow, IOD holiday release this year. And I'm going to kind of press this down to the bottom of that base and see if my top is going to be too tall. If it comes up where that starts to curve in, I don't think I'll use it because I'm afraid I would get crinkling and overlapping when I try to press that down. However, it looks like it's going to work perfectly. I just used a little bit of packing tape, taped the top of the transfer on, removed the carrier sheet underneath, and now I'm just kind of pressing it on to get it to stick with my hand. After I get it on with my hand, I'm just going to take the transfer tool, go over it, and as you can see, I am not having any issues at all. And I think because of the shape of this transfer, I had no problems with it wanting to crinkle at all. It was perfect on there. And after I burnish that on with my hands, I need to seal it. I'm using DIY's liquid patina, and I want to make sure I get around those edges really well, and I do want to make sure I get it on the surface, and that way if you should accidentally scrape it up against something, it would be much more less likely to scrape it or tear the transfer. Here I'm simply drying it. And now I'm just kind of playing. I didn't have a candle close by, so I thought, ooh, I'm just going to stick some of these little greeneries and pine cones in there because you could use it as decor. You would not necessarily have to use it for a candle. However, they make beautiful candles now, don't they? They are so realistic. I love those ones that are flickering and they look like a real flame. Now I'm just putting this handle back on, slipping it over those screws that are on the base. And they had little nuts that held the handle on, and they had little covers on them so you could easily just twist those back on. However, one of mine covers came off, so I had to get my little handy dandy tool out so I could grip it. My fingers, I just couldn't get a hold of it to be able to twist it on. So that went on easily with that little tool, and I just took that little top and put a little bit of hot glue back on it and put that covering back over the screw, and that just put it all back together. Now here I was thinking that if I had a candle in there and if it was really neutral, I might want to add just a little bit of embellishment to it. And I thought this green bow would be perfect. It's a good color, and I think I'm going to make a bow out of that to go on the handle. First, I want to dovetail the ends of the ribbon, and to do that, I fold the ribbon in half and I cut from the fold side down to the edging side, and that gives me that little V shape. And that's what I refer to when I say I'm going to dovetail the end of my ribbon. I'm going to make this really simple. I'm just tying a very simple bow, and when I get that situated the way I think I want it to look, I'm just going to add some little frosted berries in there. And I think this looks really cute. In the finished project, you'll see that I did add a candle, and I love the way that looks as well. I love to make over frames. In this frame, I'm going to be using this canvas from Temu, which is like a dark and moody old world Santa. So I want to make my frame old world dark and moody as well. The first thing I did was remove the glass and the cardboard backing. And now you can see there's a kind of looks like a wood grain shiny piece of, it's probably resin. And I want that to be black to give me that old world look. So I'm using coal black fusion mineral paint to go over the insides between those two gold etchings. I'm also going to do the sides that have that same material, and I want those to be black as well. So again, using the coal black mineral paint by Fusion, I just go around the tops, bottoms, and the sides. And then I am going to be ready to cover my cardboard backing with my canvas. Now the canvas is larger than the backing, and I had more room to cut off at the bottom than I did the top because I didn't want to interfere with Santa's hat or his head. So I'm going to take my pencil and trace around this piece of cardboard so I'll know exactly how to put this canvas on that same size of cardboard that will fit the frame. Looks like that's going to work, so I'm just going to now trim off all the excess that I need to fit this in the frame. Next, I need to take my double-sided 6-inch tape. This is very sticky tape. I got this on Amazon, and this is how I use this tape on my frames. Now, I've had this for quite some time. It lasts a long time. I used to make journals, excuse me, and so that's why I have this tape on hand. Simply going to put that on the bottom end and use my X-Acto knife, cut that apart, flip it over, do the same thing. It's very sticky, so you want to make sure when you stick it on there it's going to stick, because if you try to pull it up, more than likely you're going to pull your cardboard away from the cardboard base, and you'll just have your tape stuck to a piece of the top layer of your cardboard. Here we're going to cut that off again, and when we flip it over, you'll see there's a space in the center. I'm going to use double-sided tape that's only 1 inch wide, and it's really going to be a little wider than I need. So what I'm going to do is lay one strip down and trim that off, and here we're going to get stuck a little bit and trim that down. And when we flip that over, you'll see that we don't need quite 1 inch there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that covering over the double-sided inch tape, and that will give me a smooth edge when I lay down this other strip of tape. Now I'm also going to raise up the 6-inch tape. What I'm trying to avoid here is making a ridge that would show under my canvas. So by pulling this up a little bit, folding it back, I'm just going to hold it down with my ruler so it won't flop back over. You can see I'm trying to keep that very flat so it doesn't pull up and roll over and make a ridge. Now this can overlap. As long as it's flat, it isn't going to show through. So we're going to keep this flat, and there's no rolled edges on our sticky sides, so we're going to trim that off. We got stuck again. There we go. And I'm going to even that up on the side. There's a little bit of overhang. Snip that off. And I'm going to remove that 6-inch from the top backing and the inch backing, and we're going to flip that around, and we're going to very carefully, you want to make sure your corners are corner to corner and the bottom of your canvas is right up against the bottom of your cardboard, because like I said, if you pull this up, the sticky would stick to the canvas and pull the cardboard up as well. Here we go. I'm going to take the last piece off of that tape covering, the backing from that tape. I'm going to take my hand and just kind of smooth that down, and as you can see, it's on there, and you don't have to worry about that popping up or bubbling or showing any kind of creases underneath. Now, I want to put this back in the frame. I'm not using the glass. I like the look of the canvas on there. And it had these little metal slats, I guess. I have one of those shooters that shoots them out. I don't know what they're called. Picture staple shooter. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to just fold those back down, and that will secure that picture in the back. Now we'll be removing the hanger, taking that off. I'm going to use some builder's grade butcher paper and cut out the size of the back of the frame. I'm going to use my inch double-sided tape and put that all around the frame, stick that on to my butcher paper, or actually I'm going to stick the butcher paper onto the tape, and then I take a stapler and go around that and add that little picture hanger back, and it really looks professional. Here I'm going to do a little bit of touch-up, just where I felt like maybe the black paint went up a little bit too much on some of this gold etching that was already on the frame, and I didn't have to do much at all, but I wanted to tidy it up just a little bit. And this is the finished product. Okay, I thrifted two of these rusty, crusty, grungy little loaf pans, but I tell you what, this turns out so sweet. It's actually one of my favorites of this whole video. I'm going to take some Highlander Fusion Mineral Paint and give it a couple of coats. I haven't made the other one yet. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I am going to be doing something with it. Here, after I have the two coats on, I'm going to dry it. Now, I did put a sealer on this just to make sure that my transfers would fit, although there should not be a problem because it does have a built-in sealer and primer. Now I want to grunge it up just a little bit more on the edges around the loaf pan with some coal black mineral fusion paint. Here I'm taking some floral foam. Now I got this at an estate sale. I'm usually able to pick up floral foam, and sometimes you can find some nice faux flowers at estate sales, and some sales price them reasonably and some not so reasonable, but anyway, you can usually, if you go on the last day on ours, everything's 50% off. So that's a good time to pick it up because usually a lot of people aren't really looking for this flower foam at an estate sale. All I'm doing is just cutting down little pieces, just wedging them in so I will have a base to put my stems in when I make this little arrangement. Now this little arrangement is going to be really simple, but as I said, it turns out so sweet. For my transfers, I'm using the Partridge Lane from IOD's 2025 holiday release. There were a couple little strands of garland in here that were the same, and they're just perfect to fit on the side of this little loaf pan. So after I had sealed it, like I said, and dried it, it goes on very easily. I take my fingers, and I like to burnish it on with my fingers. And then after I get the transfers on, I do go back and seal it again, just for a little protection over those transfers to keep them from either peeling or scratching if you scrape up against them. I had some of this green moss in my stash, and I'm just going to lay that in there. I'm trying not to use hot glue if I don't have to. Now I'm going to pull, just some odds and ends of greenery that I have in my stash. And you can see this one's been cut on before, and it was on a pretty heavy, excuse me, wire, and those wires are hard to cut. I don't know, I only have a small pair of wire cutters, and I've never really looked around for a larger pair, but I'm sure they probably make them. It'd probably be much easier than trying to squeeze that little one together. Want those to kind of come out from the ends. Then I just start cutting apart different things, filling in, and then I decided I wanted to put some red berries, and that's basically all that's going to go in here, are just different varieties of greenery, and then these little red berries. Now I do add a bow after I made this, and I think it looks really sweet. So when you see the final reveal, it will have a little velvet frayed bow on the front. Here I'm just continuing to add it in to make it look full. And then this project is complete. This was a word shelf sitter. It had black lettering on it. We had some nice days here, so I was able to take that outside and sand it off. And what I'm going to do next is use one of my new loves, I guess you would say. This product I just fell in love with. It is Dark and Decrepit by DIY. It's a liquid patina, and this product can be used as either a stain or a glaze. For my projects, I've been using it mostly as a stain because I think it just gives it that rich, dark wood look. And I don't know, I've been leaning towards that dark wood look this season. I just think it's rich looking and kind of dark and moody. This is actually a little bit dark and moody of a project. So I go around all the sides, go around the ends, and here I'm taking coal black fusion mineral paint, and I'm going to be using an inlay on this. So I'm painting it all black, and when I get that all finished, I'll show you the inlay that I'm going to try to put on there, and it really works out really well. It's from the La Folie, I'm not sure how you say that. But I'm taking one of these beautiful paint inlay prints from this packet, and there are so many different designs in here. I mean, you could just use your imagination, make all kinds of things. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put a fresh coat of paint on there, because when you use an inlay, you want it to be wet. You want the paint to be wet. Now, I will say to you that if you use a paint like I'm doing here, there's a possibility that you may not be able to use this inlay again, depending on what you put it on. If you put it on something black, you probably would be fine. But now I'm going to moisten the paint side of the inlay, and I get mine really pretty wet. And when I pick this up, you notice I have these little tabs on the end, and I wanted those to extend out so I wouldn't have as much of what we refer to as a panty line. Now, to put this on, I tried to pull the tabs up so the center was kind of sagging, so I wanted my center to hit first. And now I'm tapping that on, and I take a damp cloth to tap that off. And then after it's completely dry, I sprayed it again. You want to definitely spray it again before you start pulling, and I dab that off as well. Now I'm pulling this back, and ladies, you won't believe how fantastic this looks. These colors, look at this. And look how well they transferred onto that fusion mineral paint. As you can see, it's pulling up some of the paint when I pull it off, which gives it that aged look that I'm really going for. But the paint was perfect. I mean, I didn't have any trouble with any of that pulling off. I was very pleased with this. Now I'm taking just a little bit of that fusion paint, going over where those, what we refer to as those little panty lines, and kind of covering those up to kind of camouflage those. Now I want to be careful because I really do not want to paint over where the paint was pulled up. when I remove the inlay, because I think that just really adds a lot of character. Now what I want to do probably is I'm going to kind of clean that up a little bit with a damp cloth where I kind of got over there with the paint. And I think I actually did go over it one more time with another coat of the Dark and Decrepit, just to give it that dark, rich contrast with the black. And here's the finished project. Here I'm taking this, it looks like a silver tray, but honestly it is so lightweight, I actually think it's probably aluminum. And because of the slick finish of this tray, I am using Dixie Belle's Slick Stick. And I'm going over that with 2 coats, and I let it dry overnight. Here, I don't know what happened to the video where I actually painted this and sealed it. That is Crinoline DIY chalk paint, and I did seal it really well before I tried to add on this transfer. This is Blossom Bunnies from Prima Redesign. I purchased this transfer kit last year, and here I'm going to put the bunny in the center, and I found a couple of those mirror daisies to go on either side. Now, with the Prima Redesign transfers, I find that if I can take my acrylic nails and go around the edges and get that halo down, get that edge down really well, and then I go over the whole thing with my transfer tool, then I start lifting and pressing on with my tool at the same time. And I'll have to say this transfer was one of the easiest ones by Prima that I have used. And I did the same thing with the little daisy bunch here. I press it on, and then I went around all the edges to try to get that outside clear edge referred to as the halo, and then I press with the tool, and that comes right off as well. Now when I put the second one on, I'm going to kind of slow down and show you the steps that really helps me get the Prima Redesign transfers on. Here I'm taking my fingernail, going around that little clear edge that's all around the colored part of these transfers. Then I'm using my transfer tool, going over the whole thing. Then I will take my pokey tool and lift that carrier sheet, and I'm going to just keep pressing with my tool, and I get to the end and it came off just great. I love these. These are so sweet. Now I'm going to use Paint Couture's Crackle. It comes in 2 steps. So the first thing we're going to do is take step 1, and we're going to cover the entire painted and transferred base with this coat of step 1 Crackle. Now I'm still learning with this Crackle. I get, you know, the Crackle, and it looks fine, but I'm wondering if there's a way you can control, you know, if you get a light or a dark crackle, or a heavy, I guess, or a fine crackle is what I'm trying to say. Now, after I let my step 1 dry for about 40 minutes, it's still tacky, then you're ready to add step 2. Now, step 2, I do know you don't want it to be very heavy. If it looks milky, it's going to be too heavy and you won't get too much crackle. Now, I dried that with my heat tool, and now I'm applying Fusion Aging Wax, and just look how that crackle pops. I mean, I love this aging effect of the Fusion Aging Wax. That's one of my favorite products to use as well. You can see how well that went on. Now I'm going to use, okay, I've got to think about this before I say it. Okay, it's metal mix and pigment fix. Okay, I got it. Now, the first time I ever used this, I put the powder in first and then poured the liquid, but that didn't mix very well for me. So this time I'm going to add the liquid first and then the powder. And this mixed up very well. The first way I mixed it, it seemed like there were those little metallic powder balls in there, and when you were painting with it, they would kind of explode and give you this kind of, I don't know, fused out web of powder. So this way it mixed really well, and all I'm using this for is to go around that silver trim I left. I want to do all those little ornate pieces. I'm going to outline all those silver edges, and I'm going to go back in and kind of shadow that in a little bit. And then I take a little bit of it and I just rub over those rough edges, and just to give it a little bit of shine. If you see a little bit of lines going horizontal, I actually think that was from the slick stick. It's a very thick solution, and I think it left those lines. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as I said, I'm only 28 subscribers away from reaching 1,000 before Christmas. So if you have friends or anyone you think might enjoy watching some of my DIYs, just share this out, please, and maybe they will want to subscribe also. Christmas is just around the corner. There were so many things I wanted to use from the new IOD release. I just ran out of time. I wasn't able to do that, but there's always next year, right? I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, and I also want to, again, thank all of you for supporting my channel. It means a lot. We're going through kind of a difficult time in our family right now, but I know things are going to get better. My husband and I, we were kind of chuckling because Easter, he was in the hospital. Thanksgiving week, he was in the hospital. So we're hoping and praying that our family can all be together at home this year for Christmas. So anyway, again, thank you for supporting me. Have a Merry Christmas. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get another video out. Hopefully soon. But until next time.